dive into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation.
When she found out, my one true love is Kim Porter, she became angry, jealous, saw that the relationship wasn't going anywhere. But I've done a lot of sidebars on Kim Porter because there are those on the online community and some in the public who believe that her death was not just a tragic result of natural consequences, but Sean Combs may have had some. I think those theories have been debunked. But she is coming up in this trial.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. And listen, how old was she when she died?
That's a good question. I'll tell you right now. Kim Porter. Pneumonia several years back. Came up yesterday in testimony. Came up yesterday in opening statements because the defense's theory is that these women were jealous of him, right? They're coming after him for jealous. So Cassandra Ventura, when she found out, my one true love is Kim Porter, she became angry, jealous, saw that the relationship wasn't going anywhere. But I've done a lot of sidebars on Kim Porter because there are those on the online community and some in the public who believe that her death was not just a tragic result of natural consequences, but Sean Combs may have had some. I think those theories have been debunked, but she is coming up in this trial.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. And listen, how old was she when she died?
That's a good question. I'll tell you right now. Kim Porter.
40-something?
47.
Okay. 47-year-old with a lot of financial means dies of pneumonia. I understand why there are people online questioning that.
Yep.
I understand. I don't know if there's anything to it, but I understand why it would raise an eyebrow.
There's a lot of weird stuff, but
Yeah.
Based on the medical examiner, based on what we've seen, the circumstances, and I've done episodes of Sidebar on this. To me, I think there's anything more there. I'm sure people will disagree. But just by the way, talking about it, we are planning to dedicate so many shows and content to the Diddy trial. So definitely keep checking out Long Crimes YouTube channel. We will constantly put out videos. By the way, a little bit later on, we're going to bring on Elizabeth Milner, who's right now in the courthouse watching Cassandra Ventura testify. She's going to come on here, tell us what she saw. So stay with us here on this live program. We have a question from Ariana San 1. Is it favorable to start her testimony so early in the case? How could this influence the foundation of the remaining counts that he's charged with?
I think it's a perfectly good strategy. And by the way, I took your point earlier, right? She's pregnant, so you have to deal with that. You can't get into a situation where she's not available. Also, I wonder if with these victims' witnesses, the prosecution's thinking is, we want to get this testimony on the record as soon as possible. We don't want to risk anything happening with these key witnesses of ours. We want to get them in the courtroom and get it done and get it in front of the jury as soon as we can. Now, in terms of the flow of a trial, you want to start strong, you want to end strong, you want to ebb and flow, you want to worry about how you end at the end of a Friday going into a weekend. You want to sort of pay attention to the pace of the trial and the story you're telling. But you also have to deal with availability of witnesses. Not every witness is available every day. And you have to deal with that and put this complicated puzzle together of what witnesses are you calling in what order. But I do think they really wanted to start this trial with something really significant, and this made sense.
Got a question from Helena Ignacia Gallego. Is Cassie allowed to testify on racketeering evidence that she witnessed, or only her personal experience with Diddy?
Well, she's allowed to testify if she witnessed racketeering evidence and has personal knowledge of it and is qualified to testify about it, she can testify.
I think she already has,
Yeah,
talking about the
like
assistants and the people who might have helped him. But how do they prove an agreement, right? It's not just, it's racketeering conspiracy, an agreement to further criminal activity, to further racketeering activity. What's the agreement? How do they prove that?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because the agreement isn't we're going to abuse a lot of women. Let's go use this enterprise and go do that. No one has an agreement like that. So that's part of the problem of a racketeering count at all. It's so technical in the requirements of proof, it's really hard to sustain.
Got an update from court. Cassie Ventura's testimony happening in real time. Prosecutor asks, where did you live in LA? Ventura responds, 875 Comstock Avenue, or Comstock Avenue. This is Wilshire Corridor condos. How tall was the building? No more than 17 floors. Where did Sean live? 200 South Mapleton. Sean would use a golf cart to get back and forth. I know where this is going. This is going to the allegation that she was present, and I might be wrong, that she was present when Sean Combs dangled a woman off the balcony. You remember that allegation? I think that's where that's going.
Yeah,
yeah,
I do. And that's an important kind of allegation in this case, because again, the threats, the reason all of these people say they lived in fear, and it helps justify their conduct, even if their conduct otherwise looks like they were in agreement.
Question from, where is this? I thought we had a question. Yeah, we got a question up here. And I got another civil law question for you.
Excellent.
Danny, question, what happens to all the Diddy civil suits if he's found not guilty?
Well, it has no effect on the continuance of the civil suits. And in some way, it's actually helpful to the civil suits, because the burden of proof, as we've said here many times, is different in a civil suit. You only have to prove more likely than not instead of beyond a reasonable doubt. So the jury could come back and find him acquitted on all counts because they didn't find proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That doesn't shield him from any civil litigation whatsoever. It might embolden him to fight, but the good news for those civil litigants is now he's out of prison. He's continuing to make money, presumably, and be a defendant that you could sue and collect from. That might be useful.
Yeah, and look, OJ, right?
Right.
OJ.
Well, that's the blueprint. That is exactly the blueprint. That is a criminal trial where they mucked up the prosecution and couldn't get a conviction, and then the family came in and got a civil judgment against him.
We have a question from, I'm not going to say the name because I don't think it's appropriate, but it's fine. I'm just going to spell it out for you. ASSY Mama, okay? Will, this is a family show. Will Diddy testify?
Absolutely no way.
Really? You don't think so?
No way.
I don't think he is either.
No way. I mean, in a million years, you're going to put him on the stand and let them show him that video and take him through it and cross-examine him. The odds of him doing that are very small.
He shouldn't. And it's very different than when he testified years ago and in the nightclub shooting case. The circumstances incredibly different than they are here. And I think he probably has a lot more to lose here. By the way, but you think about his judgment. No, I don't know what told him it was a good idea to make an Instagram video admitting that it was him in the 2016 hotel video. You wonder about the admissions he made there. You wonder about what admissions he'd make on the stand.
So a defendant like Diddy is fighting two battles. He has this battle inside the courtroom where he doesn't want to be convicted of crimes, but he's still a public figure. He's still got to run his business. He's fighting a public relations battle. And I think at that moment, he thought, I have to say something about this publicly for the point of my business. And sometimes those two things conflict. What you would do for your business is not necessarily what you would do as a defendant.
We got a question. No, we have an update from court. A few things, actually. So first, we have a poll that I think is very interesting. Has this trial changed your view of Sean Diddy Combs? 54% say yes, 46% say no. Interesting what people came into this trial thinking, in the sense maybe their opinion was changed of the.
So we're going to sip some tea on that. Has our public perception been changed about Diddy? I'm going to give my personal tease on Diddy. I've never particularly cared for Diddy. Diddy's not the most entertaining of the hip hop musicians that I favor. He's not the Nellies. He's not the Ushers. He's not the Lil Waynes. He's not the Tupac. He's not the Biggie Smalls. So I never really fancy Diddy. His, rapping is just like how I'm talking right now. It's very, monotone, and it's not anything that's alluring or exciting or, it just didn't do it for me. That's my personal tease on Diddy. Y'all drop y'all's personal perception of Diddy and let us know how you feel, sippers. Do you care for Diddy still? Did you ever care for Diddy before? And how do you think you'll like Diddy after he may or may not be convicted of these charges? Remember to like and subscribe to Tanisha Talks Teas. We are catching up on day 2. Cassie Ventura is currently on the stand, and we're getting all of the moments and minutes with Law and Crime. Thank you guys for being here on day 2 of Diddy's trial. It's underway and explosive.
Last year and a half about Sean Combs, so it's hard to know. Update from court. Prosecutor asks Cassie Ventura, who paid your rent in LA? Ventura responds, Sean, except when I had the house in Studio City. Prosecutor says, why'd you pay then? Ventura responds, I could afford it then, and I wanted to have some control. It was accepted. By whom? Sean. I think this is critical because this goes to the idea of the commercial sex acts, right? Don't you have to say there was something of value that was given or obtained in exchange for sex, in exchange for the relationship, or goes to sex in exchange for the relationship, or goes to control he might have had over her? I think money is important.
Yeah, I think money is important too. And the notion that that was one of the ways he controlled her and other people is an important part of the trial.
This is a question from Josh Cutemup. How is it not a bigger deal that one of the witnesses is missing? Again, presuming alleged victim number 3.
I think it's a pretty big deal.
Yep.
The question is, at the end of this trial, has that person testified? And if the answer is no now, the jury doesn't ever have to know anything about it. I mean, the jury doesn't have to know that there was a planned third witness and they didn't show up, and therefore the jury doesn't have to make any conclusions about that one way or another. You could make all sorts of different conclusions from that fact.
We got a few updates from court about the testimony of Cassandra Ventura. Prosecutor asks, how many songs did you write while with Sean Combs? Ventura says hundreds, that most were never released. Some got leaked on the internet, some on mixtapes. How many?
Also, tea sippers. How does that look to the trafficking? Like, if Diddy's buying these women homes to live in, how is he trafficking you if you have the capability to come to and from? You're only trafficked, like, okay, sex trafficking places you think of are like hotels, but you're usually heavily guarded. If you're in a situation like that, you're usually in an underground situation, off the radar. In low-level sex trafficking cases, you may be in like a trap house of some sort, a dope house, an abandoned house or something of the sort. But if you have the capability to come and go, are you being human trafficked? Drop your tea in the chat and let me know what you think on that.
How many albums on your deal were not released? 9. Did you get paid for them? No. Then talking about the freak-offs. The freak-offs became a job. There was no time to do anything else but do them, then try to recover from them. How much time would
And that's what I
freak-offs-
was saying as well. When the Diddy stuff first really started unraveling, like last August, September, right? How were they ever even making any music or conducting any type of business when all they did is seem like was have freak offs 3-4 days at a time, and then you're spending 3-4 days. That's your entire week. You're spending the rest of the week trying to recuperate with juice IVs or whatever, IVs they were using. This is crazy.
Take the longest was 4 days, significant periods of time. And by the way, this echoes what was said in the very first indictment against Sean Combs when, in freak-offs, and when she said in her civil complaint, these prolonged sexual episodes. These are different than other kinds of sex acts, and that's important, I think, for this kind of case.
And then I'd also like to sip this tea on the matter of his children were in the courtroom yesterday when they spoke of all of the sexual natures that occurred and things like that. I'm believing they maybe they're on day 2 as well. Listening, how do you guys feel about that? Like, would you want to be a child of anyone's parenting, and you're listening to however they carry on sexually in any manner? Like, no kid cares to hear that. Okay. What do you guys think they're going to do when they start introducing the videos into the testimonies? Should the kids, I know they shouldn't be. Do you think the kids will be in attendance in the courtroom while the actual videos are playing?
Oh yeah, very important. The duration of those, the fact that drugs were so involved in them, the number of people involved, where they got the people from, all of that is very important. 9 albums, that's a lot of albums. That's an interesting fact, right? She's in this relationship. She's not being abused. She's trying to start an entertainment career, and sounds pretty bad.
Question from Madison Thomas at West Long Crime. Did Cass Diddy injure her? That was, if you're just joining us now, first of all, we are reporting in real time her testimony on the stand. There are no cameras, there's no equipment, so we're trying our best to relay to you in real time what she's testifying to. But she started off her testifying by saying there were violent arguments that would result in physical abuse. There'd be dragging. She talked about being stomped in the head if she was down. That physical abuse or alleged physical abuse is a key component of this case, particularly sex trafficking, fraud, force, or coercion that was used to induce somebody to have these sex acts. This is a question from Angelina. Is Diddy placed with other inmates? If no, why not? I think there is an element of isolation in a way, although he is around other people.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of his incarceration. I would suspect everybody is trying to keep him safe.
Well, I know that he's in the same MDC as Mangione. It's
Right.
kind of become a
Right,
little
right,
bit
right.
of a circus what's going on there. Okay, so we're getting update that it looks like court went to lunch. So we're going to be getting Elizabeth Milner on as soon as possible, who was in that courtroom. Fascinated to know what she observed of Cassandra Ventura's testimony, and also how the jury might be responding to her testimony, which, by the way, can you ever glean anything from how the jury is responding to testimony?
Yes, you try. I mean, sometimes when I'm on trial, I have a person in the courtroom with me whose sole job is to watch the jury, because I'm very interested in the reactions of jurors. But jurors try not to express emotion. They try to stay straight-faced. They're not there reacting the same way you and I would if we were watching some testimony on television. So it is very hard to do, but you can sometimes, and you certainly try to.
Question from Slaytan. To what extent might Cassie Ventura's visible pregnancy influence jurors' emotional response and perception of her credibility? Will that have an impact on the jurors without them knowing?
I think it could. I mean, again, that's something that could cut both ways. I mean, in one sense, a juror could say, well, it appears that she's moved on and she has a life and she has a family, and actually she seems to have come out of this okay. And that could be something that a jury could consider. It also, I think jurors have some sympathy for pregnancy, and it makes them like the witness a little better.
We have another question from Angelina, who is Diddy's lawyer. He's got a lot of lawyers.
Right.
So he's got Xavier Donaldson, he's got Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, he's got Brian Steele. I mean, he's got a high-powered legal team. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Right. It's a necessary thing. He needs a high-powered legal team. It's funny, the defense has the daughter of Mark Garagos, and I think the prosecution has the daughter of James Comey.
Correct.
So it's a second-generation trial in some respect. But they're really good. They're really good lawyers all around, and for the defense. And I would expect. I mean, this is a defendant.
And remember when they talked about this attorney right here, how incompetent he was. He wasn't really focusing on, the things that needed to be focused on, like the Costco doesn't sell baby oil. No. Something about the baby oil at Costco, y'all. Something about the baby oil at Costco, but it was something so irrelevant to the serious nature of what Diddy is lined up here facing. So we're going to see how he fares, along the trial for Diddy, because here he is. I thought people were saying that he had got fired from the Diddy case, but he's here. I think they're saying this is his daughter. So we're going to see how he does, y'all.
Who can afford level representation, which most defendants down facing federal charges can't, is taking advantage of that.
We have another question from Content Channel. Couldn't she be charged with racketeering also, meaning Cassie, since she booked hotels and paid with her credit card, as stated by the previous witness, presumably referring to David Phillip, who is that male performer?
Yeah, I think some of these people are, as I said, a mix of victim and co-conspirator. And I also assume that the government is only interested or mostly interested in convicting Sean Combs. So probably they have an understanding that they're not going to bring any charges against her.
We have a question from OU812. Jesse, any idea how many witnesses the prosecution will be calling? I know it's an 8-week trial. I know the defense is going to be calling a lot of witnesses. I don't know how many the prosecution will call, but there is a strength in numbers. So aside from just the alleged victims, the more that they can get escorts, right, the more that they can get people who worked in Diddy's inner circle, that's going to be narrative in this case. And also, I imagine, members of law enforcement.
I think that's true. I think you want strength in numbers. I'm gonna put one caveat there.
Please do.
If I'm the prosecution, I want to be careful when you show the jury this evidence, this really shocking evidence over and over and over again. They become more conditioned to seeing it. And their reaction to it the first time is much different than the reaction to it the 40th time. So you want to put in enough evidence to get your conviction, but you don't necessarily want to repeat the same thing again and again and again. It's not really helpful.
Want to hear something interesting? We took another poll. We're taking a lot of polls here on YouTube. Do you think celebrity status will affect the outcome of proceedings? 59% say yes, 41% say no. Thoughts on that?
Well, his celebrity status affects the outcome of the proceedings. I mean, it affects the whole case, right? It's the only reason there is a case. It affects his ability to mount a defense and the quality of that defense. So I think that question more gets to what will the jury think when it considers that they're looking at a powerful celebrity here? Will that impact them one way or another? And once again, that can kind of go either way on a juror-by-juror basis. But I will tell you that jury charge is going to very much contain instruction that they're not supposed to take his celebrity into account in rendering a verdict.
It's interesting. We always have to ask that question after Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, because of his celebrity status and the way he testified was a big factor in that. We got a question from James K. will individuals involved in these freak-offs be named? So I think this goes to a larger question, right? Everybody, when Sean Combs was first indicted, who were the celebrities? Who's going to be named, right? It might not be, it might just be the alleged victims and the escorts. I mean, I think there's a difference between saying what the prosecution's asserting versus, oh my gosh, we're going to list every celebrity who knew what was going on and every celebrity that may or may not have participated. I don't think that could be a distraction, but I don't know. You tell me, I could be wrong.
Okay, so everybody's fascinated to hear what this list are. In somewhat in the same way, people always wanted to get the Epstein files and hear what that list is. People want to know who's involved. From the prosecution standpoint, it really wouldn't be that helpful to have a lot of celebrities who attended these freak-offs, because that would make it seem more and more like it's just a Hollywood thing. It's a thing that a lot of people participated in. You might not understand it, but this is what they do out there when they're rich and famous. I don't think that it helps that much. I know the public is very interested to know who else was involved.
We have a question from Makita Ramser. Do you think Sean Combs and R. Kelly's cases are similar? Now, let me just also say, he was convicted of something else. It was a racketeering case, but this was illegal sex with minors, sexual exploitation of minors. Sure, there was bribery, coercion, forced labor, and head of a giant music icon, people working for him, wealth, power, resources, but the minors component is what I think separates that case from Sean Combs.
I think the minors component makes it different. Obviously, it has some comparisons because it's the same industry and some of the allegations are similar, but there are also differences.
Yeah, and I can see that. And look, I think during the pre-trial motions leading up, they cited a lot of cases that were similar. So I remember they cited Ghislaine Maxwell. I believe they cited R. Kelly's case. I think they even cited the Mike Jeffries case, Abercrombie and Fitch. Oh, yeah. That was in order for him to get bail, which was ultimately abandoned after losing so many times. Okay, so I have an update for you. We're getting Elizabeth Milner, our in-court reporter. She's coming out as soon as possible, and then she's got to jump back into court because they're going to come back after this lunch break. I got a question from Sharada Ramanthan. Won't the Cassie video clinch it since she has confirmed that it was after?
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay sipping.